Hey guys, I'm going to work on a layout today of these two photos. They're 4x6 landscape photos and they look like this. And they're my nephews and my niece. So one of my nephews shows up in both pictures. And they're underneath a tent that we built in our living room when they were spending the night one weekend. So I want to scrapbook this. I pulled 3 pieces of paper from the Studio Calico kit for March of 2013. And one is just this plain cardstock. This one is Studio Calico Lounge. And it has this yellow and gray on that side. But it has this sort of teal-like color on that side. And then this one is also from Studio Calico. This is from the Sunsetter collection. It's got this orange diagonal stripe on this side, and then it has a very faint like aqua grid on this side. So I pulled those 3 pieces of paper. I have all of the embellishments from the March kit right here. And then I also pulled this Simon Says stamp kit from November of 2012, and I really want to get rid of these kits that I haven't used. So the color scheme for these match pretty well with what I'm going to use here. There's some that match pretty well with the color scheme. So, and what I did is I pulled all of the inspiration pages and I glued them to the top of the box, so I know now what colors the kit kind of are without having to open all of the boxes. So I have some Doodlebug twine in here in Beetle Black, and then I have some letter stickers. These are basic gray, basic letter stickers. I have this chipboard piece which has a houndstooth on it, and then these pages, this 6x6, and I think this is this Serenade by Basic Gray. And then there's some old dictionary pages, and there's just some 8.5 by 11 cardstock in here as well that I probably won't use unless I can, yeah, I probably won't use this. But it's here in case I decide to use it. So that's where I'm going to start, and we'll see where we go from here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hey guys, so I know I started out with those 3 papers from the Studio Calico kit, and I ended up actually only using one. I only used the Sunsetter, and that's the one with the grid that I talked about in the intro video. And it just so happened that I really liked the colors that came in that Simon Says stamp card kit. So I decided to use those instead. I did use this solid cardstock from the Studio Calico kit to matte my photos, and I used my eyeballs and my trimmer to matte those. So, you know, they're not perfect, but they're fine. They work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that background paper, that sunset paper from Studio Calico. I'm going to cut the branding strip off here, and it's got this nice grid, soft grid on the back. And what I'm going to do is arrange these 4 6x6 papers behind my photos here, my matted photos, to create, you know, my layout. And after I lay this down, I realized that I don't like how the one in the upper left-hand corner is oriented. I wanted it shifted a little bit more towards the left-hand side of the page. So I, of course, pull everything up and then start over. No problem. I swear some days I should go back and just use temporary adhesive until it's all done. And then go back with the permanent adhesive, because I am forever pulling things up and putting it back down, and, you know, you guys know how it goes. So I pulled out this ephemera pack that's Pink Paisley, and it's the Portfolio collection from Ephemera. And now I'm off looking for additional embellishments for this layout, because as you know, and I've said in my other videos, that I really need to do this before I start doing a video. I'm going through now looking at everything that's available from the Studio Calico kit that I may want to use on this layout in the embellishments that came. But I needed to pull some embellishments for my stash as well, and I need to get better about doing that initially. because I'm learning that I will always want to pull stuff from my stash and not just use the things that came in the kit. So these labels that I pulled out are from the Studio Calico February kit, and they work well with the color scheme of this layout. So I'm working now on my embellishment clusters. There's going to be 3 of them. They're going to be in a triangle. They're going to outline my pictures to give the focus of the layout exactly where I want it. I'm playing around with some of that ephemera pack to see which ones I want to use. I added a label of green and turquoise or aqua to each of the embellishment clusters, and I'm now looking at what else I want to add. I pulled these Webster's tickets. They're called they're from Webster's Pages. They're fabric tickets from the Palm Beach collection. That one says a happy place. And I decide that I'm going to layer that down in the lower right hand corner, and then I'm going to pull out these wood veneers, and they just have a bunch of words on them, and I don't know what you would call them because Studio Calico doesn't give any of their wood veneers names, so it's just a bunch of wood veneers that had words on them that I bought. So I'm looking it over to see, and that wood veneer, that larger one there, I liked it, but I felt like it overpowered the layout a bit, so I didn't want to use it. But I know I want a wood veneer shape in each of the embellishment clusters because I want to keep the 3 clusters, I want to keep them consistent. So I'm going through and just looking at what I'm going to use, and then I decide, if you look at this layout, it's very boxy. Like, the 6x6 papers are, they have very hard right angles, and there's just a lot of right angles, and there's a lot of boxiness to this layout as it stands right now. So I knew I wanted to add some twine to this to give it some fluidity, if you will. But I didn't want it to be in a structured way. So I just, I've seen Tracy do this a few times on her layouts. I've seen other people do them where they just add the twine in like a messy sort of, it looks kind of like it was just thrown on the page. And I think that it gives the page some movement away from those 90-degree angles. So that's why I did it here. So I'm going to add that twine to the bottom behind each of the embellishment cluster and on top of the label. And I'm going to use foam adhesive to pop up some of the embellishments in the clusters. Always looking for ways to add depth to the pages. And the other part is I didn't want those labels to lay directly on the page with the twine behind them, because then they would have been bumpy and that wouldn't have looked good. So we go to the all-important foam adhesive. I put that Happy Place ticket up on foam adhesive, and then I'm going to put this wood veneer on 2 layers of foam adhesive so that it stands up. I wanted it to overlap that Happy Place ticket. So adding some adhesive to these labels in this left-hand cluster, and then I'm going to add this flare that came in the Studio Calico kit. It says Good Time. I'm going to add it to the top of that Studio Calico wood veneer. And then I'm going to work on how I'm going to add that twine to that cluster, and I decide to add it behind the labels, and I'm going to use some foam adhesive on the sides. You'll see me here add some foam adhesive behind those labels. So the one side of the label is flat, but then the other side is raised with the foam adhesive so that that twine has a place to live behind that label. And because even though I said it was going to look like the twine was just going to look like it was thrown on the page, yeah, right. No, I want it to look like I want it to look, so I used a glue pen and just added a little bit of adhesive to that twine to get it to lay where I wanted it to lay. So even when things look random on my page, they're not. I want them to be, but they're not. So just going through and adding that adhesive to that twine there. There we go. And now I lay out these stamps, and it says I love you to the moon and back. It was the Studio Calico add-on, and I thought that I would use that, but I'm laying it out here. I'm going to put it on the block, but I couldn't figure out where I wanted to put it because my clusters were already pretty much close to being done, so I wasn't exactly sure where I would add it, so I ended up not using it. I pulled out this Dear Lizzie phrase stamp and ended up not using it either. Went to the trusty Smash stamp, the Smash roller date stamp, and I used the phrase that says I heart this and the date, and I'm going to add that to that Studio Calico label. It's like a flag or yeah, like a flag shape there. Add that there. And then I'm going to pull this little star that that came with the Studio Calico kit, that those stamps. And there's not a whole lot of black. Like I used black ink for the date and that phrase, and then I used the black doodlebug twine. But there's not really black much else in the layout. There is some dark spaces in the photos. So in order to add some black into the layout, I decided to use just this little star and go through and just stamp it around those embellishments. So, I could have used, I could have, misted, I could have used some mist, I could have used wood veneers and colored them black, anything like that, but I decided to just use that small little stamp. And now I'm adding the title, which is going to be Best Pals, to this label on that side. And again, I'm using those black letter stickers from Basic Gray. These are also from Basic Gray. These came in the Studio Calico kit. Those Basic Gray letters came in the Simon Says Stamp kit. So I'm using, these are from Basic Gray. They're calling them candy dots. They're enamel dots, but Basic Gray calls them candy dots. Candy buttons, I think. Yeah, candy buttons. And then I saw this technique on Two Bees in a Bucket, I think, where they use a border punch just to add some interest to the outside of the layout, and they don't like punch a whole border or anything. It just punches some holes in the side. So I decided I would try that on this layout because that upper left hand corner needed something for me. I felt like it needed just a little bit of interest. I didn't want to add any color up there. I didn't want to bring any color up there, but I thought the star, because I used the small stars, I thought that worked well, and I just punched it once on the border. And then I'll just have to be careful what layout I put behind it, so that of course the color doesn't, I don't have hot pink behind those stars when they go in my book. So I pulled this journaling block from my mind's eye, and here I'm just documenting what it was. It's from the Sweetest Thing collection. And I cut, at the bottom of it was like a bracket shape, and I cut that off because everything on this layout is so square. And I thought there was brackets nowhere else on this layout, so I thought the bracket didn't work so well with the embellishments I already had laid down, so I wanted that journaling spot to be square. So that's what I did. So I'm going to add some adhesive and lay that down where I want it. And then just to add some consistency, I'm going to add some more of those black stars to that journaling spot to make it look like it belongs with the layout. So here's a picture of the final layout, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.